Guten Abend, mein Name ist Susi Anderle und ich möchte Sie sehr herzlich zur Eröffnung der Palästinensischen Filmwoche 2018 hier im Motivkino begrüßen. Ich finde es ganz schön, dass bei diesem grauslichen Wetter und ja, von der grauslichen Politik, hier wollen wir jetzt gar nicht sprechen, dass Sie hierher gekommen sind, diesen wunderbaren Film zu sehen. Und jetzt würde ich Sie bitten, mit mir jemanden zu begrüßen, ohne den diese ganze Filmwoche wie auch die Filmtage letztes Jahr nie stattgefunden hätten. Bitte begrüßen Sie mit mir Fritz Edlinger.
Ja, schönen guten Abend, danke fürs Kommen. Es ist für manche ja schon bekannt, dass wir voriges Jahr mit 2 Filmtagen begonnen haben. Das war ein Test. Der Test war sehr positiv und das hat uns zu dem wahnwitzigen Projekt gebracht, ab dem heurigen Jahr eine palästinensische Filmwoche durchzuführen. Die Filmwoche wird 4 Tage in Wien und 2 Tage in Graz sein. In Graz beginnt das morgen. Und ich hoffe, dass wir auch bei den anderen Filmen, wir haben wirklich uns bemüht, sehr gute Filme auszuwählen, dass auch bei den anderen Filmen bis am Donnerstag so viele da sind. Vielleicht wird das Wetter auch besser und selbst wenn Schnee geht, hoffe ich, dass Sie alle kommen. Ich darf mich bedanken bei einigen Institutionen, die diese Woche ermöglicht haben. Es war nicht einfach, das zusammenzubringen. Wir wollen heute nicht über Politik reden, aber die Politik in Österreich ist inzwischen, so wie die Politik in der ganzen Welt, unfreundlicher und winterlicher geworden, was wir auch merken, wenn man etwas für Palästina tut. Was uns gerade provoziert, gerade jetzt etwas für Palästina zu tun, und nicht nur um unsere Solidarität mit dem palästinensischen Volk auszudrücken, sondern auch zu beweisen, dass Palästinenser keine Terroristen, keine Abenteurer, keine was immer sind, sondern dass es ein kulturell hochstehendes Volk ist, die Zivilisation, die Kultur haben und die auch wissen, was sie wollen. Nämlich sie wollen das, was jedem Volk zusteht, ihr eigenes Land und ihr eigenes Land zu gründen. Und das ist im Wesentlichen auch die Aussage des heutigen Abends. Wir haben als Veranstalter, als Mitveranstalter, denen ich auch danken möchte, die palästinensischen Apotheker, Ärzte und Apotheker, das österreichisch-arabische Begegnungszentrum, die Erdberg-Apotheke und Wien Kultur, das Kulturamt der Stadt Wien und natürlich das Motivkino, die uns von Haus aus sehr willkommen geheißen haben. Nochmals herzlichen Dank. Damit ist es schon vorbei. Ich möchte nochmals zum heutigen Film und eigentlich hätte ich das gleich zu Beginn sagen sollen. Ich bin sehr glücklich und wir sind alle sehr froh, dass wir auch die Direktorin und Regisseurin des heutigen Films persönlich hier begrüßen können. Begrüßt mit mir gemeinsam Mai Masri. Thank you for coming. Danke. Mai ist sicher eine der wichtigsten palästinensischen Filmdirektorinnen. Wir haben gerade vorhin hier im Kino einen Frauenfilm, einen sehr aktuellen gezeigt. Und es ist kein Zufall, auch in Palästina ist die Filmbranche weiblich. Ihr werdet, I thought that the film sector in Palestine is in the hands of women. And we will see even this week at the end of the week, we will see another outstanding Palestinian film director, Najwa Najjar. She will present also her film, and it will be the same like today. Today after the screening, Mai will be here and she will be ready to discuss with you about her film and whatever you want. And the same will happen at the last day, on Thursday, with Najwa. She will present her film, and afterwards we will have the opportunity to meet her and to discuss with her. So, finally, zurück zum Deutsch, weil ich habe gerade mit dem nächsten kurzen Begrüßer besprochen, ob er in Deutsch, in Englisch oder in Arabisch sprechen wird. Wir haben uns geeinigt, er wird ein Mittelding zwischen Deutsch und Englisch machen. Es freut mich, dass wir natürlich auch unseren Freund und palästinensischen Botschafter Salah Abdel Shafi begrüßen dürfen. Bitte sehr. Ja, und bevor ich Salah das Wort gebe, es freut mich, dass er es gerade noch geschafft hat. Es ist eine besondere Freude, den neuen Chef des Büros der Arabischen Liga in Wien, einen alten Freund, der nach Wien zurückgekehrt ist. Er war früher als tunesischer Botschafter hier, nun repräsentiert er die Arabische Liga. Begrüßt mit mir Mohammed Samir Kuba. Thank you for coming. And now please, Salah, the mic is yours. Und spät und nach ihm geht es gleich los, damit nicht jemand noch auf einen anderen Höhepunkt wartet. Der Höhepunkt ist dann der Film.
Vielen Dank. Guten Abend, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, liebe Freunde. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Es freut mich außerordentlich, zum zweiten Mal hier dabei zu sein. Nächstes Jahr wird es zu einer Tradition. Beim dritten Mal ist es schon eine Tradition. Und ich bin mir sicher, mit dieser Energie von Fritz Fröhlich werden wir es schaffen, ein drittes, viertes, fünftes und jedes Jahr palästinensische Filmtage zu organisieren. Es ist wichtig, diese Tage zu organisieren, weil man versucht, Palästina in diesem Land aus dem kollektiven Gedächtnis zu löschen. Es ist wichtig, dass man Palästina näher an die Österreicherinnen und Österreicher bringt und vielleicht Kultur, Kunst, Filme ist das beste Instrument, um Palästina den Österreichern und Österreichern näher zu bringen. Palästina ist nicht nur eine Gesellschaft, die für die Befreiung ihres Landes kämpft. Es ist eine lebendige Gesellschaft. Eine Gesellschaft, die Kultur und Kunst und Tradition, eine sehr aktive Gesellschaft. Die Filmindustrie ist ein Teil dieser Gesellschaft und übrigens in Palästina ist eine sehr erfolgreiche, florierende Filmindustrie. Ich wünsche uns allen sehr unterhaltsame Tage bei diesen Filmen, die verschiedene Aspekte, gesellschaftlichen, sozialen Aspekte des Lebens in Palästina. So, ich wünsche Ihnen, ich wünsche uns allen viel Spaß dabei. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, Excellency Ambassador of the Arab League, my dear friend Samir Kub'a, it is a great pleasure for me to be for the second year in this Palestinian Film Week. And this is the second time, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank Fritz Fröhlich for his efforts to make this happen for the second year. I hope it will be for the third, fourth, and it becomes a tradition. I would also like to thank all the sponsors. And there are many sponsors this year. They are all listed in front of you on the brochures. I would like to thank them for making this happening. It is important to have these Palestinian Film Days or Palestinian Film Week in the time where in this country, unfortunately, there are attempts to delete Palestine from the collective memory of Austrians. Unfortunately, we see this intensifying at a variety of levels. But the fact that Palestine has friends in this country, the fact that this film festival is taking place, shows that the civil society in this country is still supportive of Palestine, for the right of Palestinians of independence and return to their home country. I think films, art, heritage, music are also an important part of Palestinian life. It is probably a very efficient instrument to bring Palestine closer to the people. So once again, thanks for the organizers, for the sponsors, for you that you all came to watch and see part of Palestinian life. I wish you much of fun by watching these films. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to thank the festival, to thank Fritz Edlinger and Susie and Anderle and the whole team of the Palestine Film Week in Vienna, and I hope it will continue every year because it's very important. As our ambassador said, through culture, through film, through art, it's a wonderful way of reaching an audience and touching them. Especially nowadays, it's more important than ever. So thank you very much.
I would like to start with one or two questions, and hopefully the audience will also for sure have some ideas and some questions. Why is it so important for you to show this kind of historic situation, so to say? Since it's more than 30 years ago, the film is set. What's the important thing you want to tell the audience today?
Since we're talking history, I'll tell you a bit how the idea came about. This is inspired by a true story, and the events in the film are all very factual. I met a woman, a Palestinian woman who had been in an Israeli prison when I was filming in my hometown in Palestine, Nablus, during the first Intifada. And she told me how she had given birth to her child inside an Israeli prison. And that, I was really moved and touched by her story, especially when she described the conditions, being chained, and then the idea of raising a child in a prison. So I began researching with women prisoners over the years. I made other films. I'm a documentary filmmaker at heart. Most of my films have been documentary. This is my first fiction. So I began researching, and I discovered that the 80s, and that's why I was a bit thinking, should I set it now or in the 80s at the time? And I decided to set it in the real time of the story because it was a special, I think, period in history, in Palestinian history and in prison experience, because that was the 70s, even the late 60s, 70s, 80s, that was the beginning of the prisoners' kind of movement, and the many strikes, and the very, I think the political kind of leadership that came out in the first Intifada was a result of those prison experience. So there were many women, because the film focuses on women, of diverse background from different organizations. It was a very interesting time. And the second reason, I found that it was interesting to show how at the time they were putting the political prisoners, the Palestinian political prisoners, with the Israeli criminal prisoners together. Now it's not so much the case. So I didn't want to mix things up. So that's why I chose the 80s. But it's very, the reality today is similar to that then. So it's not a historic piece that's finished. This is an ongoing story.
That would have been my second question. If you think that things have, not only in prison, but for Palestinians inside or in the West Bank or in Gaza, if you think it deteriorated, it's worse, what's your idea about what could...
I think the situation has deteriorated a lot, and for prisoners too, because now there's a lot of more violence against prisoners, especially child prisoners, and this is a very violent situation because hundreds of children are imprisoned every year. Women too. 15,000 women have been imprisoned over the years. Over 1 million Palestinians here. In the film, I say 700,000, but it's actually closer to 1 million. But I think now, when we see the kind of conditions, and especially imprisonment of children, without, and many of them without trial, even the men, I can say it's worse now than it was before, for sure. But still, prison is really a symbol and metaphor for the condition of Palestinians under occupation. And for me, this prison it tells the story of the whole, for me, of occupation. And that's why I chose to focus on this story.
Maybe it's also of interest for other people, I hope so. Where did you have the possibility to make this film? Was this a studio or a real prison, or how did you manage to do that?
I was so lucky that it's a real prison, and very few prison films are made in a real prison. This was a big plus for the film. I shot it in Jordan, in a real military prison that's used as a base. There are no prisoners there, luckily, because I wouldn't be able to film. I wouldn't like to film in a prison with prisoners. So this was an empty prison. It gave us the opportunity to work with our actors inside a real prison. For the visual too, we used when you have real walls, real bars, the shadows. We used all the aesthetics of the film. I worked with my cameraman very closely about the colors, the shadows and the movement, and to try to get and using the bars always, because I wanted the audience also to feel like they're in the prison. So lots of time you see the bars, the characters framed by the bars. But also the actors, the fact that they were filming inside a real prison really allowed them to feel more and forget sometimes that this was a film. And especially many of the actors and even the crew, some of them were former prisoners themselves or had relatives who were prisoners. So they brought their own experience to the film.
Well, this is the next thing I wondered. These actors, actresses are exceptional. They are marvelous. Are there some professional actors, or where did you find the women doing this very beautiful, terrifying movie?
Thank you. The main actress, Maysa Abdelhadi, is from Nazareth. And there's a few others who are known, like Raida Adoni or Nadir Amran, who's Palestinian from Jordan. All the actors in the film, by the way, are Palestinian, even the ones that played the Israeli roles. But, and that's a big plus, I think, for Palestinian actors' talent. But many of them are non-actors, not all professional. The ones that played the Israeli roles, most of them were non-professional. So, but I chose them because they can, they really were able to they looked like the part, and they were able to because they live under occupation, they know what they know what they're talking about. And the child is another story, because he's of course 2.5 years old. It was very challenging working with a child. And we really had to be patient and wait until he was in the mood. And then you can only film one time, each scene, because you can't repeat. He doesn't know what a camera is. But I think he was it was a powerful experience even for the child, because till now, he's still in his home, he's drawing on the walls of his home, still talking about the bird, and he tells his father, I want to visit the prison, it's like it was very powerful and memorable experience even for him.
So maybe we give the floor to the audience. Are there any questions, please?
I wonder if you could comment on the segregation in the prison. But at some point, this separation was broken. Could you elaborate on this? Was this intentional? What the separation was broken? Could you elaborate on this? Was this intentional?
Yes, I think it's interesting because this point nobody has talked about before, and I found it very interesting. How in the same, and there is segregation, like you said. The Israeli prisoners have more rights, of course, and they can wear their clothes, and they can even go out sometimes. And then even in the Israeli side, there's segregation. There's the Ashkenazi, the European kind of, most of them were Sepharad from the Eastern Jews, from the Arab countries. And that I found interesting in the character of Shulamit, because she became, Arab culture was very close to her, and the fact that Layal helped her, it broke the tension and created some kind of human connection. And this is based on fact. It's not me, my wishful thinking. And especially at the time, during the Sabra Shatila massacre, it's true that some of the Israeli prisoners, they were so, I think, touched by the Palestinians' grief and their stand that they actually some of them stood in solidarity. And I think this is interesting. And also in the lawyer's character, and now I'm talking about the Israeli lawyer, it's also based on real experiences. And here I'm thinking of Felicia Langer and Leah Semmel, and there are many others, and many women, by the way, and they played a very important role, I think, in defending Palestinian prisoners. So I wanted to show that, to show the, even within the Palestinian side, it's not one block, you have different kinds, and they're not all heroes. That's why I chose Layal as someone ordinary, not a militant to begin with, like an ordinary woman who finds herself in this situation. I found that journey interesting to follow. Thank you. The question, should I translate to someone else? That about the relationship between Layal, the Palestinian, and the Israeli inmate, Shulamit, and the fact that she saved her life. She found that human moment very powerful. And جاوبك بالعربي ولا بالإنجليزي؟ in English?
لا أنا بفهم كل شيء بس أنا حبيت أحكيها بالعربي وأصير فيها كنت رأيت.
Yes, I think I answered that point. And it's interesting that even at the time, the pregnant Israeli women, they would put them with the Palestinians because it was safer. And within the Israeli cells, lots of drugs and violence. The Palestinians were more very organized and political, and there are many details. And I did a lot of speaking to the prisoners, and I found these stories interesting to show because we don't talk about this, and it gives you some hope, some hope. The question is, she wishes I showed more of the Palestinian prisoner and his solidarity with the women prisoners and having more interaction and maybe the love story. Developing. The next one maybe. The next one, because a lot of people ask me, what happened to Ayman and Layal? Afterwards, people, they feel like, well, we want more. Inshallah, الجزء الثاني.
Thank you for coming. Bye. Thank you. And see you next time. Bye-bye.